Before we begin, a quick message from our sponsors. Your support helps us keep bringing you new sleep stories for free. You won't be bothered by any ads once the story begins.
Overwhelmed? That was me with diabetes. Hey, I'm Jabron. Between teaching and coaching, managing diabetes felt like an extra job. With the Freestyle Libre 3 CGM, I get real-time glucose readings and have the insights to make informed decisions. My life feels lighter now. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
The views expressed should not be used for medical diagnosis or treatment as a substitute for professional medical advice. Individual circumstances may vary. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Now with McDonald's, wake up to a $4 breakfast meal deal. Wake up to a sausage McMuffin or sausage biscuit, to hash browns, and wake up to a hot coffee. Get your $4 breakfast meal deal.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories, where tonight you are invited to rest beside the porch of endless summer rain, a quiet place where warm rain falls through golden evening light, and every soft drop seems to carry the day gently away. So let yourself settle in now. There is nothing more you need to do. No problem to solve, no path to hurry down. Only this moment, soft and dim and waiting, like a lamp left glowing in a window, just for you. Take a slow breath in and feel the air arrive easily. Let it fill the chest, the ribs, the quiet spaces behind the heart. Then breathe out slowly as if the breath were mist drifting across a sleepy meadow. Again, breathe in, gathering calm, and breathe out, letting the shoulders loosen, the jaw soften, the thoughts grow lighter. Imagine the warmth of a summer evening, not the bright heat of afternoon, but the gentle, mellow warmth that lingers after sunset, when the wooden boards of an old porch still hold a little sunlight from the day. The air smells of rain on leaves, of damp earth, of lavender growing beside the steps, of cedar wood warmed and cooled and warmed again by many years of seasons. Somewhere nearby, rain begins to fall. It does not rush. It does not storm. It simply arrives, one drop at a time, touching the porch roof with a soft, hollow sound. Then another, then many, gathering into a rhythm so steady and kind that the whole evening seems to breathe with it. You are safe here. The porch is wide and covered. A rocking chair waits beside a small table. A quilt rests over the arm of the chair, faded in places, stitched with soft squares of blue, cream, and pale yellow, as if pieces of old summer skies had been sewn together. Beyond the porch railing, the garden blurs in the rain. Fireflies glow faintly among the wet grass, appearing and fading like thoughts that no longer need to be followed. And as you listen to the rain, as your breath becomes slower, as the edges of the day grow dimmer, you may let the story begin to carry itself. There was, at the end of a narrow lane that wound through fields of tall grass and sleepy Queen Anne's lace, a house with a porch that people in the valley spoke of very softly. They did not speak of it as one speaks of a famous place or a grand place or a place that asks to be admired. They spoke of it as one might speak of a favorite blanket, a forgotten song, or a glass of cool water on a hot afternoon. The house was small and white, with green shutters and a roof weathered silver by years of sun. It stood beneath 3 enormous oak trees whose branches curved over the roof as if sheltering it from the world. Around the steps grew lavender, mint, and rain lilies, and in the corners of the yard, where the grass was allowed to grow high, little wild flowers opened and closed according to their own quiet schedule. But the porch was what people remembered. It wrapped around the front of the house in a generous half-moon, its floorboards smooth from bare feet and long afternoons. A swing hung from 2 iron chains near the left side, and on the right, beside a blue enameled table, sat a rocking chair that never seemed to age. The porch ceiling was painted a faded sky blue, though no one remembered who had painted it first. Some said it kept wasps away. Some said it reminded the house of clear weather. Others said the color was for dreaming. And then there was the rain, not all the time, of course. The fields around the lane knew sun and wind and frost. The apple trees flowered in spring. The cornfields rose in June. The cicadas sang in July until the evenings seemed threaded with silver. But on that porch, when a person truly needed rest, summer rain would often begin to fall. It might be February beyond the yard, with snow sleeping in the ditches. It might be October with pumpkins on steps and geese crossing the sky. It might be an ordinary day with no clouds anywhere. Yet if someone came to that porch carrying too much tiredness, too many thoughts, or a heart that had been holding itself too tightly, the air would grow soft, the leaves would darken, and from somewhere just above the roof, warm summer rain would begin. This was known, but not often explained. The old woman who had lived there for many years never tried to explain it either. Her name was Eleonora Vale, though everyone called her Nora. She had silver hair that she twisted into a loose knot, and eyes the gentle gray of rain clouds seen from far away. She made peach preserves in August, mended torn pockets for children in the village, and kept a notebook filled with the dates when the hummingbirds returned. Some evenings, when the porch rain began, Nora would set out 2 cups of chamomile tea, even if she was alone. She said it was polite to prepare for comfort before it arrived. On one late summer evening, when the sky beyond the hills was a deep and glowing amber, a traveler named Marin came walking down the lane. Marin had not meant to wander so far. She had started the day in the next village, following a footpath that ran along a creek, planning only to walk until her mind felt clearer. But the path had turned into a meadow track, and the meadow track had turned into a narrow lane, and the narrow lane had carried her between fields where the grass whispered in long waves beneath the breeze. She was not lost exactly. The valley was gentle, and the last of the sun made every fence post and milkweed pod seem familiar. Yet she was tired in the way people become tired when they have been carrying days inside them. Her satchel was light, but her thoughts were full. They moved and turned and returned, like moths circling a lamp. When she saw the little white house beneath the oak trees, she slowed porch faced west toward the fading light. A line of rain lilies nodded beside the steps, though there had been no rain that day. A glass lantern hung from a hook near the door, already lit, though the evening was not yet dark. On the porch, Nora Vale sat in the rocking chair with a small book resting closed on her lap. She looked up as if she'd been expecting Maren. "Good evening," Nora said. Her voice was quiet, but it reached the lane easily. Maren touched the strap of her satchel and smiled, in the polite way people smile when they are not sure whether they are intruding. "Good evening," she answered. "I hope I'm not trespassing." "No," Nora said. "You're arriving." This was said so simply that Maren felt no need to question it. A breeze moved through the oak leaves, turning their pale undersides toward the sky. The first cricket began its evening note in the grass. Somewhere in the distance, a cowbell sounded once, then fell silent again. "You look as though you've walked farther than you planned," Nora said. "I think I have," Maren replied. "That happens on lanes like this." Nora gestured toward the porch swing. "Come sit a while if you like. The rain will be here soon." Maren glanced up. The sky was clear except for a long, pink cloud stretched thin above the hills. "Rain?" she asked gently. Nora smiled. "Porch rain," she said. "A little different from ordinary rain." Maren might have asked what that meant, but the evening had a way of loosening questions before they reached the tongue. So she climbed the 3 porch steps, each one creaking softly beneath her shoes, and sat on the swing. The wood was warm from the day. The chain gave a faint, comforting sound as the swing moved back an inch, then forward, then settled. Nora lifted the teapot from the blue table and poured a cup of pale gold tea. No sooner had Maren accepted it than a soft drop touched the roof, then another, and a scattering of gentle taps, delicate as fingertips. Maren looked beyond the porch railing. The garden was still clear. The lane was still dusty. The far fields were still glowing with sunset. But above the porch, rain had begun to fall, veiling the edge of the roof in silver threads. It fell straight down beyond the eaves, warm and fine, making a shining curtain around the porch. The lavender at the steps trembled beneath it. The mint leaves darkened. The rain lilies lifted their small white faces, as if remembering something lovely. Maren held the cup in both hands and listened. The sound was not loud. It was not the rattling rain of storms or the sweeping rain of cold fronts. It was a slow, endless patter, each drop finding its own place on the roof, along the gutter, on the leaves in the shallow puddles that formed near the steps. Beneath it was the deeper sound of the old porch, a wooden hush, as though the house itself were settling into rest. Nora rocked gently. "Some rain wets the ground," she said after a while. "Some rain waters the heart." Maren did not answer, but her breathing changed. The tightness behind her ribs eased a little. Her thoughts, which had been moving all day, began to drift apart. leaving space between them. The tea tasted of flowers and honey. The porch smelled of cedar and warm rain. Beyond the shining curtain, the last sunlight faded to rose, then violet, then a blue so deep it seemed to belong to dreams. Fireflies appeared at the edge of the garden, first one, then several, blinking softly among the stems. Nora rose after a time and went inside. She returned carrying a folded quilt. "For your knees," she said. Marin accepted it, feeling the softness of old cotton and the slight unevenness of hand stitching beneath her fingers. The quilt was made of many pieces, none quite matching. There were squares patterned with tiny blue flowers, strips of faded gingham, triangles of butter yellow cloth, and one patch near the edge embroidered with a small silver cloud. "It's beautiful," Marin murmured. "It has been many things," Nora said. "A baby blanket, a picnic blanket, a curtain once when a window broke in a storm. Now it mostly listens to rain." Marin smiled and drew it over her lap. The porch swing moved slowly, back and forth, back and forth, barely moving at all. The rain continued. It seemed after a while that the porch had grown larger than it first appeared. Not in a startling way, not in a way that asked for notice, but gently as twilight widens a room. The shadows between the porch posts deepened. The blue ceiling overhead seemed farther away. The sound of rain gathered layers, some close and soft, some distant and feathery, as if there were other roofs. Somewhere beyond sight, other porches, other summer evenings all listening together. Marin looked toward the far end of the porch and saw, where she thought there had only been a potted fern, a narrow walkway leading around the side of the house. "Does the porch go all the way around?" she asked. "Only when it wants to," Nora said. Marin was too peaceful to be surprised. Nora stood and took the lantern from its hook. "Would you like to see?" The rain had made the garden glow. Every leaf held a bead of light. The grass looked soft and silver. The air beyond the porch was veiled, but the porch itself was dry and warm. Marin folded the quilt over her arm and followed Nora along the covered walkway. The boards beneath their feet were smooth and cool now. The porch curved around the side of the house, wider than it should have been, passing windows where lamplight glowed behind lace curtains. In one window, Marin glimpsed a kitchen with copper pots and bundles of herbs hanging from the beams. In another, she saw shelves of books, a round rug, and a sleeping cat with its tail over its nose. Yet the house from the lane had seemed too small to hold so many rooms. The porch continued. It passed beneath another oak tree, though Marin did not remember seeing it from the road. It passed a row of hanging baskets, filled with trailing vines and pale blossoms that released a sweet scent into the damp air. The rain fell around them steadily, close enough to touch if Marin reached beyond the railing, but she felt no need to reach. It was enough to listen. At the back of the house, the porch opened into a broad, covered space with a long table at its center. Upon the table sat a bowl of peaches, a pitcher of cold water beaded with condensation, and a plate covered with a linen cloth. Nora lifted the cloth. Beneath it were small biscuits, split and filled with butter and apricot jam. Rain makes some people hungry, Nora said. Marin laughed quietly, not because it was funny exactly, but because the evening had made laughter feel easy. They sat at the table while the rain fell beyond the porch, and the world grew darker and more fragrant. The peaches in the bowl smelled of sun-warmed orchards. The biscuits were tender. The jam shone amber in the lantern light. Marin ate slowly, tasting each bite, feeling as if she had entered a place where time had stopped, asking to be counted. Beyond the steps at the back porch, the garden sloped down toward a pond. Rain touched the pond in 1,000 small circles, each circle widening, meeting another, disappearing into the whole. Frogs called from the reeds, soft and low. An owl moved somewhere in the trees without making a sound. Marin watched the pond until the shapes of reflected leaves and reflected stars became difficult to tell apart. "Has the rain always been here?" she asked. Nora turned her cup in her hands. "Not always," she said. "The porch was built by a carpenter who loved summer more than any other season. She liked the long light, the soft storms, the smell of tomato leaves after rain. When she grew old, she said she wished summer could stay a little longer for anyone who needed it." "And did it?" "In its way," Nora said. The rain whispered along the roof. She built the porch, wide enough for neighbors, shaded enough for afternoons, strong enough for storms. She painted the ceiling blue so the sky would never feel far away. And when she was gone, people kept coming. Some came after long journeys, some after celebrations, some after losses they did not speak of. They sat here, and sooner or later, the rain came. Marin looked at the shining curtain beyond the eaves. "What does it do?" Nora's smile was almost hidden in the lantern glow. "What rain does, it softens the ground. It wakes sleeping roots. It fills empty places. It makes a rhythm steady enough for the heart to remember its own." They sat in silence then, which felt like part of the conversation. The night deepened. On the far side of the pond, fireflies gathered among the willow trees. Their lights moved slowly at first, then in a pattern so delicate that Marin leaned forward without realizing it. The lights blinked and faded, tracing lines in the humid air. They seemed to be spelling something, though not in any alphabet Marin knew. It was more like the language of drifting, of breathing, of old summer nights when children fall asleep against screen doors while grown-ups talk quietly in the kitchen. Marin's eyelids grew heavy, but not with the sudden heaviness of exhaustion. It was a gentle weight, like a hand resting lightly over her thoughts. Nora stood again and carried the lantern. "There is one more place," she said, "if you are not too tired." Marin rose. She was tired, yes, but the porch seemed to hold her tiredness for her. Walking was no effort. Each step felt slower, easier, quieter. They continued along the porch, which now curved beyond the back of the house and into a covered passage bordered by climbing roses. The roses were not blooming in the way roses bloom at noon. Their petals were closed slightly against the rain, holding their scent close. Yet the air was full of them, soft and green and faintly sweet. The porch boards glistened in the lantern light, though no rain touched them. At intervals, wind chimes hung from the beams, but they made no sharp sound. They only breathed when the breeze moved, releasing faint tones like distant bells heard across water. Marin walked beside Nora, listening to the layered sounds of the night. Rain on roof, rain on leaves, frogs in reeds, chimes in wind, the creak of old boards, the hush of her own breath. At the end of the passage stood a screen door. Nora opened it. Beyond was another porch. This one seemed to stand not beside the house, but somewhere deeper inside summer itself. Its railing overlooked a field of tall grass washed silver by moonlight and rain. A line of dark trees bordered the far edge, and above them clouds moved slowly across the stars. The roof here was lower, more intimate, and from it hung strings of tiny glass lanterns, each holding a flame no larger than a firefly. There was a daybed against the wall covered in white cotton sheets and pillows with embroidered edges. Beside it stood a small table with a bowl of rainwater in which a single gardenia floated. The air was warmer here, and the rain fell more softly, almost like a lullaby remembering itself. "This is the listening porch," Nora said. Marin stepped closer to the railing. The field beyond swayed gently. Though the rain fell, the grass did not bend beneath it. Instead, each drop seemed to vanish into the blades and return as a faint glimmer. The whole field shimmered, as if summer had dreamed of rain for so long that it had become light. Marin felt something inside her loosen all at once. Not dramatically, not with tears, though her eyes warmed. It was simply that she had been holding on to thoughts she did not need to hold at night. Lists, worries, unfinished conversations, imagined futures, the little stones of daily life that gathered in the pockets of the mind. Here, on this porch, with the rain falling and the grass shining and the lanterns breathing softly overhead, she felt those stones grow lighter. One by one, they seemed to dissolve. Nora did not speak. She only placed the quilt at the foot of the daybed and set the lantern on the table. Marin sat down. The mattress gave softly beneath her. The sheet was cool against her hand. The pillows smelled faintly of sun and linen, as if they had dried all afternoon on a line between two apple trees. Beyond the railing, the rain continued. A moth drifted near one of the glass lanterns, its pale wings opening and closing slowly. Somewhere beyond the field, thunder murmured, so distant and kind that it seemed less like weather than a reminder that the world was large, and she did not have to hold all of it. Nora took the rocking chair near the door. "Rest as long as you need," she said. Marin lay back against the pillows and drew the quilt over herself. The little embroidered silver cloud rested near her hand. She listened. At first, she listened to everything. The rain tapping the roof above her, the hush of water sliding from the eaves, the low chorus of frogs, the quiet creak of Nora's chair, the grass breathing in the field. Then the sounds began to blend together, not disappearing, but becoming one sound. A wide, soft sound, a sound without edges. It seemed to rise and fall with Marin's breath. She breathed in. The porch breathed in. She breathed out. The summer rain breathed out. In that peaceful rhythm, she dreamed without knowing she had crossed into dreaming. She dreamed that the porch floated gently above the field, not flying, only drifting as a leaf might drift on a pond. The house behind it was warm with lamplight. The oak trees held up the sky. The rain fell upward and downward at once, silver threads weaving the night together. In the dream, Marin saw all the rooms of the little white house glowing softly from within. In the kitchen, peaches ripened in bowls. In the parlor, books turned their own pages in a breeze. In a narrow room beneath the eaves, quilts were folded in stacks, each one holding the memory of a different summer rain. She walked through the rooms without needing to move her feet. In one room, she saw a child asleep on a rug while rain tapped the window. In another, a young man sat at a desk, his head resting on folded arms, finally able to rest after a long journey. In another, two sisters drank tea and listened to rain without speaking, having forgiven each other somewhere between one drop and the next. In every room, the rain was the same, gentle and warm. It entered no windows. It soaked no floor. It only sounded. It only softened. Marin drifted farther into sleep. The porch became a boat. The rain became a river. The field became a shining lake of grass. She floated across it beneath the blue porch ceiling, wrapped in the quilt, while fireflies moved beside her like lanterns, carried by invisible hands. The stars lowered themselves until they seemed caught in the wet leaves. The moon rested on the far hill, round and pale and drowsy. There was no hurry in the dream, no destination, only drifting, only rain, only the kindness of a summer night that had decided to last as long as it was needed. Nora watched from the rocking chair. Though in dreams she seemed older and younger at once. Her silver hair shone in the lantern light. Her hands rested quietly in her lap. She had seen many travelers sleep beneath the listening porch roof, and she knew that rest did not need to be explained. It only needed to be allowed. The rain continued until the edges of the night grew soft with the first hint of dawn. Not a bright dawn, not yet. Only a pale lifting in the east, a gentle gray-blue behind the trees. The frogs quieted, the fireflies dimmed. The field held its silver a little longer, then slowly turned green. Marin woke just enough to notice the change. She was still on the daybed, covered by the quilt. The air smelled of wet grass and gardenia. Her body felt heavy in the most comforting way, as if Every part of her had remembered how to rest. Her thoughts were still there, somewhere, but they no longer crowded close. They waited at a distance, softened by rain. Nora stood at the railing, looking out at the field. "Morning?" Maren asked sleepily. "Nearly," Nora said. "Did I sleep long?" "As long as you needed." Maren sat up slowly. The porch around her had changed again. It was no longer the listening porch at the edge of the shining field, but the front porch of the small white house facing the lane. The swing hung near the railing. The blue enamel table held 2 empty cups. The rocking chair waited in its place. Beyond the steps, the lane was damp and fresh, though the fields glittered as if rain had touched them everywhere. The sky was pearly and calm. Birds began one by one in the hedgerow. Maren folded the quilt carefully, smoothing its edges, her fingers lingering on the small silver cloud. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. Nora took the quilt and placed it over the arm of the rocking chair. "You already did," she said. "You rested." Maren smiled. It felt like the truest thing anyone had said to her in a long time. She stepped down from the porch. The lavender brushed her skirt. The mint released its clean scent beneath the morning air. At the lane, she turned back. The house looked small again. White walls, green shutters, blue ceiling over the porch. Nora stood beneath the eaves, one hand raised in farewell. The rain had stopped, or perhaps it had only grown too quiet to hear. Maren walked back along the lane as the sun rose gently behind her. The fields shone. The world seemed unchanged and entirely new. She carried no souvenir, no object from the porch, nothing to prove where she had been. Yet all through the morning, wherever she walked, she felt a soft rhythm beneath her thoughts. Rain on a roof, a porch swing moving slowly, a summer evening that did not end, and in the little white house under the oak trees, Nora Vale poured fresh water into the kettle, opened the windows to the damp morning, and wrote in her notebook that the rain had come again. Then she sat in the rocking chair, folded her hands, and listened. Because somewhere, perhaps near or far, another traveler would one day find the lane. Another tired heart would pause at the steps. Another evening would grow warm and blue beneath the porch roof. And when the time was right, the first drop would fall. Softly, then another, then many. And the porch of endless summer rain would open again. Now the story grows quiet. The porch settles beneath the trees, the lanterns dim, the quilt rests folded over the chair, soft and waiting. The rain becomes only a whisper now, a gentle sound at the edge of sleep. Let your body grow heavy. Let your breathing slow. There is no need to follow the lane any farther tonight. The house is safe. The porch is warm. The rain is kind. With every breath, the world softens. With every breath, the day drifts away. Thoughts can pass like fireflies in the garden. glowing for a moment, then fading into the peaceful dark. The rocking chair moves slowly, back and forth, back and forth. The rain taps lightly above. The summer night holds you gently, and you may rest now completely beneath the blue porch ceiling, wrapped in quiet, wrapped in warmth, wrapped in the endless, tender sound of rain. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well